Hello, so today's lesson we are going to be looking at the external environment of a business and looking at how competition and market conditions really affect a business. So in order to do that, just a quick bit of revision. So just as a bit of revision from yesterday, when we're talking about external influences, we are talking about the different factors that influence a business, and we need to think of PESTLE. So we're talking about political factors, so things such as interest rates, government grants, government incentives, planning permission, those kind of things. We're talking about economic factors, so exchange rates, economic boom and economic bust. Talking about social factors, so fashions, trends, what people are looking for, demands and changes in ethical views and opinions. Technological changes, we're talking about production process as well as the products themselves. There might be technological changes. Legally speaking, we're talking about things like health and safety law and employment law, and then other environmental or other external issues that perhaps aren't covered by the rest of those. Okay, now when we're referring to these, there's some key topics that we need to use to analyse the impact of external factors on businesses. And the first of those, and what we're really going to focus on today, is the market conditions and competition for different businesses. The second thing is looking at the different levels of incomes in a business and how that can influence, particularly when looking at increasing and decreasing incomes. We'd be looking at interest rates and how that influences businesses throughout the UK and indeed globally. We'll be looking at demographics, so the age and gender demographics and the split of different people in different areas and how that influences demand for your products and in your business. And we'd be looking at environmental concerns and indeed fair trade to see how ethical issues and social issues have changed the way that companies have operated. So when we're talking about market conditions, we're really talking about the external environment of the market. We're talking about a general economy. So, all economies around the world, they experience periods of strong growth and economic decline, and this is illustrated in what's referred to as the business cycle. Now, in about 2007, Gordon Brown declared that we had broken the business cycle, which clearly, judging by the recession in 2008 and onwards, we haven't done. Now, it's very important to understand this is a cycle. You can't just have constant growth in businesses without some small areas of decline in between them. And again, it's the same with economies. You can't just have constant growth in economies without times of decline. It's not how it works. It's just a natural cycle. What goes up must come down, essentially. So as a result, all businesses will at some point experience changing market conditions due to this business cycle. And during times of growth, businesses are really going to be looking to capitalise on that. And during times of decline, businesses are going to have to cut back and ensure that they survive. Okay, so there's two things they're looking for. They're looking for growth and they're looking for survival, really. Now, externally, the government and the Bank of England has a bit of a role to play in the market conditions. They must attempt to manage the economy to create sustainable periods of growth and minimise the impact of any economic decline. And they try to do this through interest rates and exchange rates, and indeed through providing government subsidies and government funding. But as we've seen in the past, it's not always possible for them to do this. This here is a photo from the 2008 Wall Street crash, which really was what sparked the economic decline and recession globally. So you can see it doesn't always work out, despite the government and banks' best efforts. And the reason for that is business is in a cycle, and this here is the business cycle. You have areas of growth, sometimes referred to as recovery. When you reach the peak, that is your boom time, so that is your highest level of output for that particular period. And really, for economies and for businesses, you want to try and make this boom as long as possible. Then after the boom, you start to get a time of decline, which is also referred to as recession. And when the recession reaches its lowest point, that is referred to as a depression. Now, in the last recession, I would say the greatest depression was around sort of 2011, 2012. That was the time when the economy shrunk in the UK, shrunk to its lowest levels. And then afterwards, you start to get recovery again. Now, in the UK, the recovery probably started about late 2013, 2014, and we're sort of round about here at the moment. We're starting to recover, but we've still got quite a long way to go back up to the levels we were at before the recession. Now, when we're talking about these, it's very important to think as well about competition. Businesses do not operate in isolation. It's very rare for a business to have a monopoly over a particular industry or area. So normally a business will have other people to compete against, and the actions of one business can cause a decline or a growth in sales in another business. And just to illustrate the point, we can simply just look at the UK supermarkets over the last couple of years. So you can see here Tesco's, these are the figures for 2013 and 2014, so the darker colour is 2013, the lighter colour is 2014, and you can see that during that time they have experienced a 4% decrease in sales. And there's two real competitive forces that have caused them to do that. The first is down at the cheaper end of their market, the more budget food items. Aldi and Lidl have come in and beaten them on price for comparable products, and as a result they have experienced growth of 29.5% and 18.3%, which has taken away from Tesco's sales. Also, at the top end of their market, the more luxury food items, they have had competition from companies such as Waitrose, who again have experienced a significant growth, 3.6% growth in sales during that time. Now, it is still important to understand that Tesco's is the market leader in this area, so don't feel too sorry for them. 1 in £10 spent on the high street is still spent in Tesco's, so that's 1 in every £10. And you can see they do still have a significantly larger proportion of sales and market share compared to their competitors. But they are in danger of losing out if they don't change their ways and respond to this competition. And really, the way for them to do that is to change the demand for the product. Now, the demand for the product is really how many people are likely to want to shop there, or how many people are likely to want to buy there. And it's always going to be influenced by the competition, and there's a few ways that you can change the demand of your product. Firstly, you need to reduce the price of your product, and this is really what Aldi and Lidl have done. They have come in with a similar product at a lower price, and therefore have taken away from competition. The next thing you can do is introduce new products. Now, if we're looking at supermarkets, Tesco's have tried to do this by introducing things like Tesco's Finance, Tesco's Mobile, and so on. Some of them have been more successful than others. And other good examples are people like Apple, who constantly introduce new products to the market and therefore keep the demand for their products up. And the third way you can look at it to change your demand is by increasing your demand through an effective marketing campaign. Now, there are some very good businesses that have done this very well. Again, Apple is a good example, but you could also use examples from things like films. So the Despicable Me movies and the Minion movie, they have really been very successful because they have put a very strong marketing campaign on the back of the Minions, basically based on the little yellow characters of the Minions, and that's really helped them to increase their sales both in the films and of any products that they've got outside the films. Now, to be really competitive, you must understand that a product must be competitive in one of two ways. It either has to be the cheapest product on the market, or it has to be the highest quality products on the market. Now, both of these things would create a unique selling point and will therefore allow your business to be more competitive than others in the market, and it will give you an edge over the other businesses. And really, there's only two ways to do that, as I said. It's price and the quality of the product. So, to help you understand how the external environment and particularly the market conditions and competition can have an impact on business, we're going to look at the failure of two businesses. So the first of those is going to be Jessop's, and the second of those is going to be Blockbuster. So if you can turn to page 39 in your textbooks and read through these two fact files, and then try and answer the three questions up there. So, what changes in the market caused the failure of these two firms? How could their failure have been prevented? And to what extent was their decline inevitable? And hopefully I should be back in a few minutes. So pause the video now and carry on with that work. So when you have completed the Jessup's work, if you can go into the student resources folder and find this PowerPoint, it's all saved in Wednesday the 21st of October in the folder, and you just need to click on this link here and it will take you to a BBC video about the failure of HMV, and there's a worksheet on the front desk that you can complete linked with that. If you want more information about the HMV as well, there is a second link that will take you to the news stories about them. Okay, so if you can carry on with that, that would be good. Now if you finish that and you want to compare it to other retailers again, on the next slide there's more news stories.